It's the end of 2020, and most Amazon sellers have made out like bandits. And there's a lot that we could say negatively about Amazon as a platform and the things that they do to us as Amazon sellers. This particular pod will be the opposite of that. I'm going to recognize the positive changes of 2020 as they occurred to us on Amazon as an Amazon seller. So super excited to have a positivity note as we end the year and go into 2021. Selling on Amazon is difficult. It's everything but passive income. I share videos like this one to help Amazon sellers on their journey. My name is Stephen Pope, and I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy. When Amazon turns your world upside down, tune into My Amazon Guy to land safely and grow your Amazon business. You'll notice I have a new intro there. Decided to cut that after a decade ago. I was a television reporter, got to fly on a Sun airplane. That was a fun story. All right, so the number one thing that I think everybody could align to in 2020 is just a sheer nice volume of high sales coming out of the Amazon platform. And that wouldn't be possible without Amazon. So while Amazon does have an ugly, maybe even an evil side, it definitely might be a necessary evil for many of us entrepreneurs and e-commerce geeks. The volumes that people put up this year, especially around the COVID timeframe, were exceptional. This is probably the best financial year that most Amazon sellers have ever experienced, both from a margin standpoint as well as a volume standpoint. You could command a higher margin because of the demand. And the supply chain was a total wreck this year. No way to sugarcoat that one, right? Even in fact, just put up another piece where I talked about the delays in Chinese manufacturing that are hitting. If you haven't watched that 5-minute clip, definitely recommend it. So when we look at the P&Ls though this year, and if you don't know, there's some great ways to look at the business reports inside of Amazon Seller Central. On a basic level, you can always go to reports, business reports, and you can see a lot of high-level detail. But there's a way better P&L perspective where you can look at your bottom line. And of course, the business reports are really good for top line. But the bottom line really is very valuable to look at as well. And you can do that within Seller Central by going to your reports, go into the payment section, and then download a statement view for the whole year. You can then go look through and say, hey, I had these product charges, shipping charges, refund expenses, promo rebates, FBA fees, and you get it. And then after all is said and done, okay, cool. My account bottom line for the year was XYZ. Back out your cost of goods, and you've got your net profit for the year, as well as some personal expenses, of course. So really good to do that, and I think that's the biggest thing that I think everybody's grateful for coming out of Amazon this year. So now the rest of the pod is going to kind of go through a list of UI changes and things that we've seen that are beneficial, maybe some policy updates. And while we're talking about business reports, one of those things on my list is the fact that they redid the payments dashboard. So the payments dashboard is now a little bit more bucketed. You can see the chunks of where things are going. And it's really easy to get that global view. So I think that was one of the biggest positive changes of the year. Voice of the Customer was a newly launched program by Amazon in 2020, which allowed you to see sentiment / return rates at the SKU level, and then basically how Amazon is qualifying your goods against what it feels is acceptable or not acceptable. So you might have a poor NCX rate that leads to a listing not being yanked, but being turned off temporarily until you acknowledge the problem and fix it up, so to speak. So most common issue I saw in the NCX this year was the 2 SKUs getting mixed up and inventory complaints and people receiving the wrong product. And so the NCX was a great way for me to identify where those problems were and to correct them and file tickets to switch my wrong SKU inventory over to my right SKU inventory. So not only do we have better accounting tracking and a graph and visual of payouts, we now have a graph and visual of the customer sentiment from an NCX voice of the customer standpoint. there's more transparency in general coming out of Amazon this year. I think that they really have acknowledged the pain points of sellers. The question is how much are they going to do about it? And I think because Amazon as a system has imploded this year, probably not a whole lot, but probably in some key areas is what I would expect to see going into 2021. And as we give them some credit for 2020, there really was a lot more transparency on Amazon's part. They even held a free conference digitally over the summer where they talked about all of the policy changes and what they've been doing and where they've been investing. I do think that there were some policies they could have made better, no question about it, but this is a positivity podcast. And I think that the transparency that they offered on the suspension process, policies on review manipulation, as well as their email contact policy, there was just a lot more transparency around some of these changes that they are making. Another change is it's been easier to track freight. As you log in and look at your LTL shipments, sometimes it feels like when you made an LTL shipment, you would get it picked up and then you wouldn't hear anything until it was like checking in. And of course, one of the 10 LTL shipments takes a full 30 days to check in, which was troublesome. However, this year we did see significant increases in speed for check-ins on freight. Now, with that said, that doesn't account for the 2 or 3 times of the year when the whole system was just bogged down, but I'm talking about like when it was running averagely or normally throughout the year, the general speed check-in was significantly better. So I do think it's worth applauding them for that. They also added an appeal button into the Inauthentics and IP dashboard to allow us to attach files. You no longer have to guess which email address to send those into. It's all through the portal now. Really, really appreciated that. Suspensions are now coming with a 72-hour notice ahead of time. So it used to be suspension, shoot first, then get stuck in the appealing process for weeks, losing sales. At least now you can prep your suspension before it occurs and try and fight it that way. I don't think that we saw suspension turnaround times get any better in terms of how long you were suspended for, but at least you had the opportunity to prep it before it occurred. So I think that's a very, very significant and positive development. Seller Performance now coaches you and gives you a call when your account health goes below a certain threshold. So if your shipping timeframes or maybe, so like one of the most interesting things I found out this year is that if you sell a cylinder item, so I've got a random supplement on my desk here for an elderberry, vitamin C and zinc, good way to fight COVID, by the way, and keep yourself healthy. And what I learned is that if you sell this, you need to have your sticker vertically, not horizontally, so it can be scanned. And that is something I didn't know. I learned that this year. And the way I learned that was through one of those coaching calls when a seller performance person gave me a ring and said, hey, we're having a hard time scanning your stuff at the facilities, at the FBA facilities. And I said, okay, what's going on? And she asked, well, do you sell cylinder items by chance? And I was like, actually, we do on this particular client account. And she said, well, let me look at the pictures. She looks at the pictures and said, oh, you guys are putting on the labels horizontally. You need to put them on vertically. And I was like, oh, okay, didn't know that. So that was a nice thing to learn. And there's things like that I think that Amazon's helping us out with. Video ads. Best way to grow advertising revenue this year was definitely video ads. We saw really significant benefits to them. I believe that video ads are going to be displaying on your actual detail pages in Q1 of 2021. That's my prediction. Destiny over at Better AMS also believes that's going to happen as well. And they are smart advertising gurus, so definitely believe that. Video ads and display ads were really, really significantly improved this year in terms of capacity and targeting and where they showed up. So like video ads are now like smack dab in the search results. And so if you have a good attention getting video ad in the first couple of seconds, that's going to lead to some clicks and some increased sales for you. So I definitely recommend it. Got a little hiccup here going on. Amazon lowered the IPI score back down to 450. I was hoping they go all the way back down to 400, which is where they were at in 2020 of January. But at least they went from 500 down to 450. I have a significant portion of my clientele, finger in the air, maybe 30%, that was in between that 450 and 500 scores. So really positive news for unlimited inventory storage for those sellers. UI updates all around have been significant this year. Advertising changes, as well as the ability to functionally get to certain locations. The brand dashboard was redone. They have a new growth section, an apps and services section, and the brand dashboard with the analytics and the customer reviews and the virtual bundles. Virtual bundles were also new this year. That was a little bit of a flop, but cool idea. At least defensive in nature for sure. You can now negate ASINs in your campaigns. That's also a new feature of 2020. Amazon Vine came to Seller Central in 2020. And NARF, the North American Remote Fulfillment Program. And by the way, back to Vine for a moment. I believe they're going to start charging for Vine in 2021, probably as early as January. So if you listen to this before that happens and you haven't used your 5 Vines, might want to do that before that one goes away. North American Remote Fulfillment Program allows you to ship in your inventory from FBA United States and sell it into Canada and Mexico without having to deal with customs, VAT, taxes, you name it. For those countries, probably one of my favorite 2 or 3% sales lifts of the year. So those are just some of my thoughts today with some of the best changes that happened on Amazon. Curious what you think. Leave me a comment and let me know, like, what was your favorite change of 2020? If it was sales, go ahead and say big growth, sales, that's cool. If you liked a particular feature, list out that feature in the comment section. If there was something I didn't list that you think should have made my list today, feel free and add that as well. My name is Stephen Pope, and I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thanks so much for being a listener of this year. Happy New Year.